Hello friends, I'm going to talk about a book called Esio Trot, written by Roald Dahl, illustrated by Quentin Blake. So there was a man called Mr Hoppy. He liked a woman named Mrs Silver, and he liked his garden flowers, balcony flowers. And Mrs Silver didn't like Mr Hoppy so much. She liked Alfie, his tortoise. Mr Hoppy was sad because Mrs Silver didn't like Mr Hoppy. But he liked his garden balcony flowers. He always looked down at Mrs Hoppy, and one day he looked down and said, "Mrs Hoppy, I have an idea for your tortoise." Mrs Silver said, "What? An idea? Can you tell what the idea is?" Mr Hoppy said, "Your tortoise weighs 15 pounds only, right?" said Mr Hoppy. "Yes," said Mrs Silver. "I can give you a note that can make your tortoise grow well." Then Mrs Silver said, "Oh yeah, come down. Give me that note," said Mrs Silver. "I'll be the slave of you if you give that," said Mrs Silver. And this is the part when he gives the note to Mrs Silver. Mrs Silver read the words. It was written, Esio Trot, take rigor, amok on Esio Trot, work poo, fuff, foop, poo, choose, poo, carps, poo, wolf, poo, leaves, poo, encroach, lizard, flat, this flag. It is written some random words. Mrs. Silver asked, "I can't understand these. Is this another language like Spanish?" "No, it's not. It's the tortoise language. Tortoises basically read ulta letters. If you make Esio Trot reverse, it will become tortoise. Look at that." Then he went to the shop owner and bought 100 tortoises. And then his room was full of tortoises. And he got a tortoise catcher. He took Andy up and put one of his tortoises, and Andy weighed 15 pounds. And put another another tortoise, and it weighed 17 pounds, I guess. And then Mrs. Silver said, "Hey, look! He has grown 17 pounds these days," Mrs. Silver said to Mrs. Hoppy. "Oh, great," said Mr. Hoppy. Isn't that cool? Said Mr. Hoppy. Yes, exactly, that's cool, said Mrs. Silver. The Alfie weighs 13 pounds. The tortoise number 2 weighs 15 pounds. The tortoise number 3 weighs 17 pounds. This is the tortoise he gave. And tortoise number 4 weighed 19 ounces. Tortoise number 5 weighs 12 pounds. Tortoise number 9 weighs 23 ounces. Tortoise number 7 weighs 25 pounds. Tortoise number 8 weighs 27 pounds. So, he put all the tortoises like that, and the tortoise was not fitting in his house. Mrs. Silver was like, look, he has become too fat. He's not fitting in his house. Then Mr. Hoppy was like, he said to Mrs. Silver, put the words that I gave in the list, the opposite. But reverse, don't forget that, Mr. Hoppy said. Then Mrs. Silver did as he said. Then he took the small one and put it down with his tortoise catcher. Then Mrs. Silver like, look, he has become small and he can fit in his house. Oh great, he dressed. And he was like, my love. And they both were nice friends. They had a cup of tea too. And then at last, they both married. And they were a great family. Thanks.